Hello, people of the internet land. I'm still working on that next video. I figured I'd try making another deck profile because I don't know. I finally managed to make a decent-ish, like, for me, this is actually like a decent build of Endymion-Pendulum Magician. I've been working on it for, past couple months. I've been getting cards and like tweaking like ratios and adding in cards and like this and that and swap that for that. I've just been working on this. I'm probably going to keep working on this even after this video. There are some cards in here that might not be the best choice, but for me this is actually a pretty decent build, and I should just preface this. This is budget. Like, this is all $50. Under $50, except for like the last card I'm gonna show, which brings it up to like 54, give or take. But I'm actually kind of proud of this because it works decently well. It's fairly consistent. It's not like massively oppressive. Like, I'm not gonna say this is gonna set up like 17 negates and they're not gonna be able to play, but you're gonna have to run Appaloosa, like Boral Sword, IP Masquerena. You're gonna have to run 3 Magician. No, I'm not saying any of that. That's ridiculous. This is like $50, and for the price, I actually think I did a decent job. I'm gonna keep working on this. Might make an update video later, but let's just get into it because I'm kind of proud of this. Starting with 2 Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic, or as I call him, Big Daddy Magic, because he's the big papa. He's the guy that does everything. He's ridiculous. So his pendulum effect, starting off, okay, first off, level 7, 2800, 1700 defense seems like kind of low to me. Like, I don't know, that's weird. Pendulum effect. You can remove 6 spell counters from anywhere on your field, summon him from the pendulum zone, count the number of cards you have that you can put a spell counter on, then you destroy that many cards on the field. It's mandatory, so it's kind of annoying. And then however many you destroyed, you put that many spell counters on him. When he has spell counters, he can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, which is pretty awesome protection. If he's destroyed by battle, when he has a spell counter, which if he has a counter, that's pretty much going to be the only way they can get rid of him, outside of like really specific forms of removal, you get to add any normal spell in your deck to your hand, which is pretty crazy. And the best part about him is that once per turn, soft once per turn, so if like you have 2 on board, you can do it twice. You can negate your opponent's spell or trap by bouncing a card you control with the spell counter back to your hand, and then you put that many spell counters on him. So he's got self-protection, he summons himself, he destroys cards, he negates stuff. He's just a fantastic boss monster, and it's the reason why I call him Big Daddy Magic. Next up, we got Reflection of Endymion, level 7 light spellcaster. Not a lot of people play this, and honestly, I think she's pretty decent. All the Endymion pendulums, except Endymion himself, have the same structure of effect. Whenever a spell counter is activated, or whenever a spell card is activated, doesn't matter what, you put one counter on them, put a spell counter on them, and when they have 3, you can remove those 3 to special summon them, and monster you can put a spell counter on from somewhere. In Reflection's case, she can summon one from your hand, and her monster effect is actually pretty cool. When she is special summoned by any means, including by her own effect, you can bounce a card your opponent controls and one card you control that has a spell counter, that you put those spell counters on her. So, nice little form of removal. You can only special summon them once per turn though, so that's important to remember. And if she's destroyed while she has a counter, you get to add an Endymion card to your hand, so not bad, but just run a 1. Then we have Servant of Endymion. We can only have 1 of her because I don't know why this card is limited. Like, I kind of get why, but whatever. Her pendulum effect, again, the spell counter thing, remove 3, and then you can summon her and 1 monster you can put a spell counter on from your deck. So, it's probably why she's limited. Her monster effect does not matter. All it does is that, like, once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can discard a card, put a spell counter on everything. But what really matters is that pendulum effect. Also, I like this OTS one because It's shiny. And she's level 3, that's important. Then we have Magister of Endymion, level 3, scale 8. It summons one from the extra deck, and not a lot of people ever bring this up, but its monster effect is actually the same as Servant's Pendulum effect. You can remove 3 spell counters from anywhere on the field as a quick effect on your opponent's turn, so you have to leave it on board with 3 counters just somewhere, and then you can summon one from the deck, meaning like you can bring out an Endymion, you can bounce something with Reflector to like get it back to your hand. Like, it's okay, it doesn't come up a whole lot, but it is decent. You might, you could surprise them, like, oh, you remove 3 counters, just leave this on board, 7 dead, blah. I don't know, I think it's funny. 1 Mythical Beast, Jackal King. Why just 1? Because I only have 1. I'd probably run 2 if I had a second one, but whatever. Level 6, Dark, 2400 attack, 1400 defense. Pendulum effect doesn't matter because you are not using this in the scales. That's just stupid. Yeah, unless you're like actually playing Mythical Beast, in which case, yeah, go ahead and use this. Its monster effect is what matters. That's the weird thing about pendulums. Like, it's either their pendulum effect that's good or their monster effect that's good, but it's barely both at the same time. Like, Endymion is obviously great, and this thing's monster effect is great. Each time a spell card, I keep saying spell counter is activated, but that makes no sense. Put 2 counters on this. When your opponent activates a monster effect, as a soft once per turn, meaning if you have 2, you can just use multiple times. Remove 2 counters from anywhere, negate it. So, just pretty nice form of negation. And then we have Magical Abductor. She searches basically every monster in your deck when she's in the scales. The scale 3, that's kind of annoying, but whatever. You remove 3 spell counters from her in order to just search a pendulum monster, that's just pretty good. Like, just nice search power. Next up, we're going on to the Pendulum Magician, starting with Best Girl Harmonizing Magician. Again, her scale effect does not matter because you're not putting her in the scales unless it's an emergency and you just like don't have any other options. Her monster effect is what really matters. Almost said pendulum effect, blah. If she is pendulum summoned from your hand, you can special summon any magician pendulum monster from your deck in defense position. Its effects are negated and it's banished if it directly leaves the field, but like if you use it for Xyz material or something like that, then it doesn't get banished. That's just pretty awesome. Great extender, don't really need to explain much more. Then we have one of the funniest cards in the deck, and that is Purple Poison Magician. Level 4, massive 2100 defense and 1200 attack. That's actually just like, that's a pretty good defense stat. Scale 1, once per turn, if a dark spellcaster monster battles, you can destroy this in the scale in order to have that monster gain 1200 attack. Well, actually, you have it gain attack, then you destroy this. So that's important to remember, because, you know, if like you prevent its destruction somehow, then it still goes through with the boost, it just doesn't get destroyed. But when it is destroyed, for whatever reason, it's always treated as a fusion dragon. That literally doesn't matter. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, doesn't matter how, you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it, a face-up card on the field. So, the reason I say this is hilarious is because this destruction effect isn't once per turn, it doesn't care how it's destroyed, and if your opponent negates it, if it says negate and destroy, it'll still count, and it'll blow something up anyway. This card is hilarious, and I wanted to run her at 3, but I swapped the 3rd copy out for another one that I'm just trying out. It's worked alright so far. Then we have 2 Black Fang Magician, level 4, 1700 attack, scale 8. Once per turn, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes half its current attack till the end of the turn, then destroy this card. And again, when it's destroyed, as a non-once per turn effect, you can target a dark spellcaster monster in your grave, special summon it. So it works as a shrink and a monster reborn for like Endymion or some of the extra deck monsters. That's not quite as funny as Purple Poison, but it's still pretty good. And again, it's level 4, Dark Spellcaster, scale 8, just pretty solid. Then we have the one-offs. We have a Xiangke Magician, Xiangke Xiangke? I think that's supposed to be Chinese for something, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Level 7 Dark, 2500 attack, so big, and 500 defense, so not that big. Its scale effect is that once per turn, you can target a face of Xyz monster you control, and you can use it as Xyz material as if its rank was a level. That's a really weird effect. It only comes into play if you're making like Odd Eyes Rebellion or Raging Dragon because they need Xyz monsters as Xyz material for their best effects, which is really dumb. But its monster effect is kind of neat. Once per turn, as a quick effect, you can target one light monster on the field, negate that face-up monster's effect until the end of the turn. So that can come up, but you know, it's just you're pretty much using him because he's a level 7 dark spellcaster pendulum magician, so like you can search him with a bunch of stuff. Then we have one Oafdragon. This is a card that someone recommended I swap out one of the purple poisons for. It's not bad. Also, it's like based on Yusei, so that's cool. Level 6 wind, scale 2, 2100 attack, 1400 defense. If you have a magician card in your other pendulum zone, you can recycle a magician or Odd Eyes pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. It's a recycle thing. And then its monster effect is the same thing, except it only works on monsters in the graveyard. So, like, if you like discarded one, you can just like add a magician back to your hand from your. It's also scale 2, so like someone just recommended I try it, and like it did allow me to put in another card in my extra deck. So like it's okay. You don't have to run it, but it is actually working out pretty well. Timebreaker. Not a lot of people use this card. Scale 2, level 3. I'm really using it more for what it is because you can pull it directly from the deck with Harmonizing, and that means you can just like go into a level 7 synchro. So I'm using it more for what it is, not so much what it does, because what it does isn't really that great. Its pendulum effect's kind of neat. Each turn, the first pendulum monster you control that would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect is not destroyed, which is alright. And its monster effect's kind of weird. When it's pendulum summoned from the hand and no other cards, you can make it double, you can have its attack become 28. So like, if you're in desperate need for a 2800 beat stick, it's fine, I guess. Once per turn, target a monster on the field, banish it in this until your next standby phase. That effect's kind of neat, but again, I'm using it more because it's a level 3 pendulum magician, along with Timegazer. You don't really play this for what it does, because what it does isn't great. I don't know why people play this one, but whatever. You must control no monsters to activate this as a pendulum monster, or pendulum. Kind of lame. Its scale becomes 4 if your other pendulum isn't a magician, so that stinks. And if your pendulum monster attacks, your opponent can't activate trap cards, so that's kinda neat. And its monster effect, you're not really gonna use it. The first card in your pendulum zone to be destroyed by an opponent's card effect is not destroyed, which is okay. It's just part of an engine or something. I really don't have a justification for playing it. Then we have Chronograph Sorcerer at 2. Why 2 and not 3? Same reason I play 1 Jackal King. I only have 2. I wish I had 3. So level 6, scale effect is that you can destroy it in your pendulum zone to like either special summon this or activate it in the scale, which is, that's pretty much the reason why you play it. You play it because you have this. And then its monster effect is that if anything you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can summon this and then another monster from your hand. And then it does the like Zark summon thing. So also it's like a 2000 beater, so that's neat. Then we have 2 copies of Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, because Spellbook engine. That's all the monsters, 23. Alright, next up we got the spells. We got triple spell power mastery, search an Endymion card, and then put spell counters on the field equal to the number of this card and spell power grass, which you don't run, that you control or is in your grave. Just a nice little consistency that puts counters on board. And then we have 2 copies of Magical Citadel of Endymion. I never really hear people play this, and I kind of get why. It doesn't really do anything by itself, but it does generate spell counters, so that's cool. It just like helps like mitigate costs, because like you can play it, you can build spell counters, then you can just use it, and then you don't have to like play a bunch of other spells to get effects. 1 terraforming, just to get to it. 3 duelist alliance, because we have like 1 target, and that is Pendulum Call, a fantastic little search card. You discard 1 card, and then add 2 Pendulum Magicians with different names from your deck to your hand, and then they can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while in the Pendulum zones. Actually, by any card effects, until the end phase of the next turn. So that's a pretty cool little search effect. Then we have just 2 secrets and 2 knowledge. And then a weird choice that I'm running because I find it weirdly useful is double Pot of Avarice. I know you could just run Pot of Desires, but we run one-offs in this deck, and honestly, I kind of hate Pot of Desires. And honestly, it's weird how often this becomes live in the deck because you like discard and like detach for Xyz material and stuff like that. So it comes, you know, in hell. It helps more often than you'd think. And now we're going to move on to the extra deck. Starting with the Link monsters, we got Gravity Controller. We got a bit of everything in here, so starting with Gravity Controller, Link 1, it requires 1 non-Link monster in the extra monster zone. You're pretty much just using this because it's an easy way to ditch Absolute Dragon and then get out Vortex, but its effect is kind of cool. It can't be used as Link material when it's Link summoned, which, yeah, okay. It can't be destroyed by battle with a monster in the main monster zone, and at the start of the damage step, if a battle is won in the extra monster zone, you can return both it and this to the deck. So that's actually a pretty cool thing. It's not a bad monster, but you're pretty much just using it because it's an easy way to ditch Absolute. Crowley, because you need to get to the Spellbook engine. Daybreaker, again, not a lot of people run this card, but I kind of like it. It just requires 2 spellcaster monsters, almost like 2 spellbook monsters, but that makes no sense. There's like 1. If it's Link Summon, put a counter on it, gains 300 attack for each spell counter on it, and once per turn, if a spellcaster monster special summon to one of its zones, put a counter on him. You can remove 2 counters from it, and then destroy 1 card on the field, so it's like a little bit of extra removal. And then you get to Her Highness Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians. I love this card. I only have 1 because I just bought 1. I love this artwork. It's super pretty. 2 monsters, including a spellcaster monster. If it's Link summoned, you can put spell counters on it equal to the number of spell cards you control and in your grave, so it's going to have a lot of counters. Once per turn as a quick effect, you can remove 3 counters from anywhere on your field to special summon a spellcaster from your hand or graveyard in defense position to a zone it points to. So, like, if you detach Jackal or Endymion, it helps you recover spellcasters. That's pretty solid. Also, her really neat kind of protection effect is that if there's another Endymion card on the field, just like anywhere, like the Citadel or like something in the Pendulum Zone, she can't be attacked. So that's pretty cool. And that's actually all the Link monsters. Now on to the Xyz. 1 TIMESTAR Magician. I love this card. It's a rank 4, 2 level 4 Magician Pendulum monsters, so you can just make it with like Harmonizing, Purple Poison, and Black Fang, but you can make it pretty easily. Must first be Xyz summoned with the Xyz material. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material to add 1 Dark Spellcaster monster from your deck, graveyard, or face up in your extra deck to your hand. So that's a pretty wide search scope thing. And once per turn, if a Pendulum monster just anywhere on your field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can just Foolish Burial Spellcaster, and like you can like revive it with Selene if you want. So that's pretty solid protection. And 2400 attack, not too bad. I would run Hope Magician. I don't have a copy of it though. Then we have a card that I wanted to add, but you know, like with 2 Chronograph, Oafdragon, and Jackal King, it's a little easier to justify, and that's NORITO the Moral Leader. It requires 2 level 6 spellcaster monsters, and it just negates a spell or trap by detaching a material. 2700 attack, so like that's pretty much it. It's just an extra negate. It's a little awkward to get out because you need like specifically 2 level 6s, but whatever. Then we have Absolute Dragon, aka the thing you're using to get to Vortex. Number 11, Big Eye. This is one of my favorite Xyz monsters. It takes stuff. It's rank 7. So like you could use Dark Magician if you wanted to. I think that's what, I don't know why this is a spellcaster, but like it's a rank 7 dark spellcaster, so like it just makes me think of Dark Magician. And it steals stuff, so that's cool. Then the reason you're running Absolute Dragon, aka Vortex Dragon, when it's summoned, you can bounce an attack position monster your opponent controls. And it's an Omni negate by just shuffling a face-up Pendulum monster in your extra deck back into the deck, so that's pretty cool. Meteor Burst, generic level 7 dragon synchro monster with 2500 attack. It's an Odd Eyes card. When it's special summoned, not just synchro summoned, you can special summon a card in your Pendulum zone, and this can attack for the rest of the turn. And it does have a really cool effect where like monsters your opponent controls can't activate effects during the battle phase, so that can kind of help sometimes. Fortune Lady Every, this card's actually pretty great. Its attack and defense are equal to its level times 400, so it comes out with 2800. And once per turn during your standby phase, increase its level by 1, and then banish a card on the field, which is, banish one face-up monster your opponent controls, which is pretty solid removal. And during your opponent's end phase, if she's in the graveyard, so like if they somehow manage to get rid of her, like battle or card effect or something, banish a spellcaster, summon this back to the field. Fantastic. And then you can get her banish effect. ARCANITE Magician. This thing is stupid. Like, if you get a bunch of spell counters on board, even just a couple, synchro summon this, and just go like, pop, 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 because its effect is just that you can remove a spell counter from your field, destroy a card on the field. Well, your opponent's card. So, not once per turn, you can just do it as many times as you can pay the cost, which is insane. Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer. That's a really cool name. Once per turn, target a Pendulum monster on the field, or one card in the Pendulum zone, destroy it, and then non-targeting, non-destructive spin to the deck. That's pretty cool. And then once per turn, it doesn't really matter because we don't run Draco Slayers. Enlightenment Paladin. Again, not a lot of people use this, but I kind of like it. Generic, level 4 dark spellcaster synchro. This card synchro summoned using a Magician Pendulum monster as material. You can get a spell card back from your grave, so that's pretty solid. And once per turn, if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it does the Flame Wingman thing and like burns your opponent for damage equal to its attack. And then we have like the most expensive card, which is like $5, and that is Nirvana High Paladin. Just, this card is stupid. Like, it's level 10 synchro pendulum. It's just like such a weird card. It's also really awkward to summon, but like you have some level 7 synchros. You pendulum summon a level 3 because it lets you use any pendulum summoned pendulum monster as a tuner if you just as a substitute, so that's pretty cool. So like you can use Servant or Magister or something like that. And if it's synchro summoned, if it's synchro summoned, you can just get any card in your grave back to your hand, which is pretty solid. If it destroys a monster by battle, it halves your opponent's life points after damage cap. That's just stupid. They can put it in the pendulum zone, and it has this really cool attack reduction effect. You don't need to run this card at all, but it's just so stupid and kind of cool that I like running it, and it is $5, so it is a little more expensive, but like that's fine. Alright, so that is my current build of my Endymion-Pendulum Magician budget deck. You can fiddle around with some stuff like that Pot of Avarice. You can probably like swap it out for Allure of Darkness, or if you want, you can run Pot of Desires. I don't, just because I really hate that thing. It hates me too. And like you could probably fit Called by the Grave in here somewhere. Like you could swap out the Citadel, but this is just what I like running, and it works decently for what it is. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can get all of this for like $50 or something. at least at the time of recording this, so that's really all I got. I'm kind of proud of this. Probably going to update it sometime in the future, but for now, this is what I've got. So, bye.